Hi everyone. In this video, we are going to be solving rational equations that will simplify to a quadratic equation where we have some factorable denominator. Let's take a look at our first example. Here we have 7 over u squared minus 5u plus 6 is equal to 1 over u minus 3 plus 5 over u minus 2. Okay, so the very first thing we should probably do in this situation is figure out what our excluded values would be. But before we can do that, we have to see if we can it might be helpful at least to see if we can factor the denominator on the left-hand side of the equal sign. Okay, so to do this, we want to see if we can find two numbers that multiply together to give us 6 and add to give us negative 5. All right. So here I'm thinking -3 and -2. Those two multiplied together would give us 6, and added would give us -5. And those happen to be the same as these denominators here. Okay. So we can actually rewrite this as 7 over u minus 3 times u minus 2 is equal to 1 over u minus 3 plus 5 over u minus 2. So now we can look at our excluded values. Remember, for any excluded values, at least with rational equations, we have to keep in mind that the denominator cannot be equal to 0. So for the left-hand side here, if u minus 3 or u minus 2 is equal to 0, then the denominator would be equal to 0. So that wouldn't be good. Or on the right-hand side here, if we have u minus 3 here or u minus 2, in either case, again, one of the denominators would be equal to 0, so we cannot have either of those denominators be equal to 0. So we have to figure out when u minus 3 or u minus 2 is equal to 0. So we set u minus 3 equal to 0, and we can see that when u equals 3, we would have an instance where at least one of the denominators would be 0. In this case, it would be two of them. Or we see that when u equals 2, we'd also have two instances where the denominator would be 0. So if we end up with a final answer where u is equal to 3 or u is equal to 2, we have to say that that is not a valid solution. Okay, so let's go ahead and see if we can solve this problem. All right, so let's go ahead and copy this. Okay, so here, what we can do is we can take all of the denominators or find out what they all would. I guess, okay, so let me rephrase this. We want to multiply everything by the least common denominator here, okay? In this situation, our least common denominator is u minus 3 times u minus 2, okay? So if we multiply both sides of the equation by u minus 3 times u minus 2, we should be able to clear all of the denominators and have it simplified to some quadratic equation. Okay, so on the left-hand side, everything will cancel, and we'll just have 7 is equal to whatever the right-hand side will be. But here we have to go ahead and distribute this u minus 3 times u minus 2 to everything here. So we'll take everything, distribute it to this one and to this one, and we'll get, on this first one here, we'll get u minus 3 times u minus 2 times 1. So really we can just write u minus 3 times u minus 2 over u minus 3. All right, and then we'll add 5 times u minus 3 times u minus 2 all over u minus 2. And now we can see that these u minus 3's will cancel, and these u minus 2's will cancel. So we're left with 7 is equal to u minus 2 plus 5 times u minus 3. All right, we can distribute this 5. And we'll get that 7 is equal to u minus 2 plus 5u minus 15. Combining like terms, we'll get that 7 is equal to u. Well, we have u, sorry, let's back up. We have u and we have 5u, so that'd be 6u. Okay, and then we have negative 2 and we have negative 15, so that's minus 17. All right, so now what we can do is we can add 17 to both sides of the equation. And we'll get that 24 is equal to 6u. Here, we can go ahead and divide by 6. These 6's will cancel. And then we get that u is equal to 4. Now we go back and we check and make sure that it didn't interfere with one of our excluded values. We had 3 and 2, so we're good. So u equals 4 is the solution to this equation. All right, let's do one more. Here we have 2 over, so our second one here, 2 over u squared minus 10u plus 24. And this is going to be equal to 1 over u minus 6 plus 3 over u minus 4. Okay, so the first thing we ought to do is we ought to check for excluded values after we factor the denominator on the left-hand side. So once we factor this denominator, to do this, we want to see which two numbers will multiply together to give us 24 and add to give us negative 10. With these particular problems, most of the time you're going to end up having this factor into u minus 6 and u minus 4 in this case, but really it would be whatever we have on the right-hand side. But you should always double check that just to make sure, because there may be an instance where that is not the case. But this should factor to u minus 6 times u minus 4. Okay, negative 6 times negative 4 is 24, and negative 6 plus negative 4 is negative 10. All right, and then we'll just have plus 1 over u minus 6 plus 3 over u minus 4. So our excluded values then would be, hopefully we can all see that u equals 6 and u equals 4 would be our problem values. That would come from setting each of these equal to 0 and finding out when that is the case. So we would end up with 6 and 4 as our two excluded values. All right, so let's go ahead and see if we can solve this equation. All right, so let's multiply this by the least common denominator here, which in this case is going to be u minus 6 times u minus 4. Okay, and we'll go ahead and see that everything cancels here on the left-hand side. So again, we'll have 2 is equal to, on the right-hand side, once we distribute u minus 6 and then u minus 4, we'll have u minus 6 times u minus 4 over u minus 6 plus 3 times u minus 6 times u minus 4 over u minus 4. And we can cancel the u minus 6's here, and we can cancel the u minus 4's here. So now we have 2 is equal to u minus 4 plus 3 times u minus 6. We can distribute this 3, and we'll end up with 2 is equal to u minus 4 plus 3u minus 18. Let's go ahead and combine all of our like terms. So we have a u and we have a 3u. So we'll get 2 is equal to 4u. And then we have a negative 4 and a negative 18. So we'll have a minus 22. So now what we can do is we can add 22 to both sides. And we'll end up with 24 is equal to 4u. So now we can go ahead and divide both sides by 4. And we'll get u is equal to 6. Let's hang on a second. We said that one of our excluded values was 6, and the only valid solution when we work it out, at least, it appears to be 6. But since 6 was an excluded value, that means that this is not a solution, and there is actually no solution to this equation. So there we go.